Ascot resonates, I think, really well with customers who are based abroad as well as those in the UK, and they've been a fantastic group of people to deal with over the summer while we've been negotiating the contract. We weren't really interested in just putting our name in front of the King George, having it called the Betfair King George, for example. In fact, even if we had been, I don't think Ascot were looking for that either. We were keener to try and find a different way of working with a racecourse so that we'd go a lot deeper and have a proper partnership and work on all sorts of other things than just merely sticking our name above a race and having a few customers there on race day to entertain them.
The King George itself, I understand, is going to be worth £1 million, which is an extraordinarily large amount of money under the circumstances where prize money is probably going down and it's been looked at all over the place. Certainly in Ireland it is, and over here in the UK too. What made Betfair, what made yourselves go down that route of going for £1 million for the King George?
We think it's important to send a signal, not just to British racing, but to the rest of the world, that a race like the King George has a fantastic heritage. It traditionally has been the clash of the generations in the middle of the summer, and one that's really caught the imagination of punters. And we want to try and work with Ascot and reinvigorate the race and make sure it's back on the racing roadmap in the way that it used to be in the 80s and 90s. And I think it's absolutely essential in order to do that it has a headline prize money of £1 million and hopefully more as the years roll on.
And what else does this deal involve? We're speaking to Charles Barnett from the racecourse. It's not just the King George, and you've alluded to that yourself. What else do Betfair and Ascot have in common as from today?
Well, from a race sponsorship point of view, we're also, as well as sponsoring Ascot's most valuable flat race, we'll also sponsor its most valuable jump race, which is the Ascot Chase, and will be known as the Betfair Ascot Chase in future. It's the race Corto Star won in February, and that will probably stay in February, I would imagine. And on that day, probably what we'll look to do in the future is to try and incorporate it as maybe one of the legs of a Betfair Million going forward. We haven't yet worked out the programme and how best to do that, and we'll talk to Ascot and to trainers and owners about how best to frame that race so that we could attract really good horses to jump and compete at Ascot, and it isn't just flat racing that's being used to promote the course in our relationship. But on top of sponsorship, we're doing lots of things there. We'll have, which is a nice perk for people on the corporate side, I guess, a box at the racecourse throughout the year, which will be the one situated next to the Royal Box, which will be a nice place to watch the Royal meeting from, I imagine. But we'll also be doing a whole lot of things that involve bringing new innovation and new technology to the track. We're going to look at new ways for people to bet so that you don't have to stand in line at the tote or bet with a bookmaker. There might be ways of working, for example, with a Betfair Lounge if we build something there, or using handheld devices like iPhones and mobiles, and perhaps developing a product that would be unique to Ascot so that when racegoers come to Ascot, they can sign up to this particular little handheld device, deposit some money, bet all day, and then we give them the cash at the end of it so they can go home happy hopefully. And Ascot obviously would be involved in that. We might brand it as Ascot Bet or something, but that's very early days. And there's lots of other things that we could look to. We might get involved in poker tournaments, for example, which Ascot's never done or touched on before, and it'd be quite interesting to see what would happen on that front. And there's a whole load of other stuff that in a sense are just at the wait and see stage right now, but we want to talk to Ascot, see how they can help work with us to attract new people to come racing. That's what it's all about.
The Betfair Lounge, who is that aimed at? Obviously Betfair customers, but is it any Betfair customer on the day, or is it more of a corporate clientele that you would be bringing there?
No, I think, to be honest, we will listen to our customers first and foremost and find out what they would like us to do there. Obviously we could do a very high-end, slightly sophisticated lounge that had a lot of laptops and lots of free-flowing champagne and all that kind of stuff, and aim it very much at the high spender. But I think there's a need for catering for people who don't fit into that category but do want to learn a little bit about Betfair, or even just use it and access it on the course. And they can't really do that readily right now. I mean, in the past we've been prevented from operating on race courses, and hopefully going forward that won't be the case, and we'll be able to find a way of allowing our customers to bet directly into the exchange as and when they want to.
Well, wireless technology keeps moving forward on, and it would obviously be great to have something like that available so you can go to the parade ring, look at the horses there and have a bet while you're on your way to the grandstand to watch the race. It'd save you so much time and give people more opportunity to have a bet and to see the horses that they're backing.
Yeah, I think that's the key to it, but also you need to remember that at Betfair we're very keen on in-running betting, and because our customers are very keen on in-running betting. And I think there's nothing better than being at the racecourse, watching the event live, and being confident in the technology sufficiently to know that you can have a bet without having to dial Betfair up on the phone, but to be able to use your handheld device, whether it's an iPhone or a BlackBerry or PDA or whatever it happens to be, or indeed just your mobile, and bet with confidence, knowing that your bet's going to be matched really quickly. You're not then worried about whether you're seeing fast pictures or slow pictures, you're seeing the real live action. And if you've got a really good connection, then you can be confident that your bet's going to be matched at a time that you want it to be matched.
So today's the first day. The announcement's been made today about the King George. how many more announcements and how far down the line are we looking at further announcements while you're talking with Ascot together from the Betfair point of view?
I think it'll depend on what we've got to say. I mean, it's pointless holding a press conference if all you're saying is please come to Ascot next week and it'll be pretty much same old, same old. I think if we can work on, again, innovations and new ways of attracting racegoers that help boost our brand, but also, complement what Ascot's trying to do, then when we've got something to say, we'll try and find the right time and the right place to say it. But essentially, I think this deal really is all about credit to our customers more than anything else. It's not yet a decade since Betfair started. The first event we ever bet on was a horse racing event. It was the Oaks. There were 36 people who had a bet on that event, and to me, it's an immensely pleasurable thing that in less than 10 years we're able to step forward on behalf of our customers really and do what for now is the biggest flat sponsorship in British racing. And I think doing what we've done today positions us as being, other than the tote, the biggest sponsor for UK racing, the biggest contributor to the sport in ways other than through the levy. And I think that the company, but also the customers of Betfair, deserve a lot of credit for that.